Hello, everybody. It's your favorite 3D scanner reviewer, Tom. You know, I'm an expert in the field, so that's why I'm here. Anyways, I got sent the new Creality Ferret Pro Scanner, and I'm here to tell you what it's about to convince you to buy it. You never know what happens when you get the scanner. But seriously, I have the Ferret scanner from a bit ago. They sent me that one, and now I have the Ferret Pro. And what is the difference? Well, in a word, it is wireless. That's the big deal. And you might think, wireless, who cares? It's a very important feature if you're like walking around scanning something and you don't want to get your wire, first of all, in the scan and second of all, twisted. It's kind of like an obvious feature to have. So it literally is an upgrade. Before I get into it, two disclosures. One, of course, this video is sponsored. If you didn't know that, then now you know it. But usually the key to find out if something is sponsored is if they send you a free one, then the guy talking about it is sponsored by them. So this is sponsored, but I'm going to give a honest review. And my second disclosure, I definitely had a second disclosure. I'm trying to remember what it is. Well, if it comes back to me, then it will come back to me. So let us open up this boy. If you're not a fan of unboxings, which I understand, then feel free to skip. I'm going to take my little multi-tool. I found this thing in college in a auditorium. You know how like if you go to like a lecture hall, they have like a lost and found for like, you know, especially since it's like a couple hundred people there. A lot of people like accidentally like leave stuff behind. I found this multi-tool, and you're saying, did I steal it? Technically, yes, but I saw that it was there for a while, and clearly nobody was picking it up. I'm sorry if it was missed by whoever, you know, it actually belongs to, but that's the story of this multi-tool as I struggle to open this box. What I'm going to be doing for this tutorial, maybe this was the second disclosure, is I'm going to do something that a lot of people aren't doing with 3D scanners. Normally, what people do, packaging looks similar but bigger. Normally, people scan something and then 3D print it, which is understandable. I, if everything works well, have this Blender add-on called Keen Tools Geo Tracker. If you're in the Blender scene, what it does is it tracks the geometry in your video. The issue with that is you actually need geometry to track, so I'm going to scan some geometry. That is going to be in my footage. That would be hard to model. I'm thinking my shoe. We'll see if that pans out. And then I'm going to use that mesh that I'm going to scan, which would be hard to make, to generate a track of it, so I can add visual effects. So previous ferret, new ferret. Oh, I remember what the second disclosure is. So this is important. Probably should have mentioned it earlier. Because I now have two scanners, this one is not very important to me because this is literally a better version of it. So what the Creality people recommended, and I'll do it, is I'm going to not really auction. I'm just going to give this one away for free. In the description, I'm going to put like what's probably going to be a Google Forms link that will basically say, are you in the US? What's your address in that case? And why do you want it? I'm going to give this away for free. And second of all, again, the main difference between these is the wireless. So there's this like piece of equipment in here, which I think they call a wireless bridge. Whoever I send this to, Creality has agreed to also send a wireless bridge, I believe, to the same person. So that's basically upgrading to Pro. Anyways, with that disclosure out of the way, so actually do check that out. I'm going to send it to whoever gets it. And it's a good idea. I don't need a second scanner. Let's get into it. So this is a 3D scanner. It has the same kind of form factor where you have it on a little pole. That pole probably has a battery and also a place for your phone if you want to do it via your phone. I don't like doing that. I like using a laptop. Pieces look pretty similar. It looks like they picked a different like charging stick. Kind of looks like it probably holds more battery. I don't know if that's true, but it definitely looks bulkier. So that is a good thing. I'm going to screw this onto the second component, and if you don't know what this is, it's a tripod, which is more so if you're rotating the object and you're keeping the scanner in place. I don't have a setup like that, so I walk around the object, so the tripod doesn't really matter to me. The next thing you do is you should have a mount, and by the way, none of this is as important necessarily as the scanner itself, okay? What you do is you just slide one into the other, click, and then you screw this one in over here. I guess you have a decision as to whether or not you want to put a phone in between. I do not, because I'm trying to use the light phone. For people who don't know, it's like a minimalist phone. I figure like I guess the main culprit of like why I spend a lot of time on my phone and why I leave it feeling like, I spend too much time on it is social media. This gets rid of it, but a caveat of the light phone, this isn't a light phone video, but it doesn't have a camera. And the point of me saying that is now I don't need a phone mount because I'm not filming or doing anything with it. Okay, satisfying part done. And let's attach this right there. So just know, if you want to, you could have totally have mounted the phone. I will say, oh, these things have screws. Okay, so I'm going to mount this and then just change the, or just rotate the little gear screw that we have. It's always annoying when you have to like pivot it yourself. That's the scanner. That's the phone thing. Don't really care about that. And then here is the pièce de résistance, the important thing. This should be the wireless component. I don't really know if it's a transmitter or a receiver. It looks like it is definitely a transmitter. This is the important thing, and I guess this is actually a reason. We'll see if it fits. Yeah, this is a reason to use the phone holder if you want to have the transmitter in the same spot. Okay, and I do. So I'm going to add that in, and this has a thing at the top so you can basically combine these together. By the way, if you're like, why am I not editing this and just kind of doing a slow take with stories and all this? I figure that I think it's more interesting to me. It's more like authentic and real. What is being authentic on a YouTube channel? It doesn't really exist. You change yourself the moment you start filming. But I don't think you get much from editing. And if anything, if you want to skip a part, that is editing live on the fly. And it's editing that you get to decide. So in a way, I kind of like it even better. Anyways, I'm going to now mount the phone holder, which in retrospect maybe is just a scanner, or sorry, a wireless transmitter thing. Oh, I see they even have a... Okay, so this is the idea. They have two kind of like camera mounts. I think they're called like 1/4-inch screws. They have two of them so that you can actually have both. Okay, this is the setup. And then, of course, you put the scanner on top where you just slide it in, I assume. This is the setup. And again, the main difference is, or maybe, I don't know if it's the only difference, but the main difference is this wireless thing. Again, I'm giving it away. They'll do a bridge. It is apparent to me that we are going to need some cables. One to like power it, and maybe one to like charge the thing. I don't know if it has a battery built in. So that is our main stuff. Then we get onto the boring stuff that it comes with, a bunch of cables. I don't know if it comes with anything else. So it comes with cables and a USB to USB-C converter. I always like to have those because I always like lose them. Okay, that is the main thing. And now we just got to ask ourselves what cables connect to what. And I would assume that it's obvious. So this like little weird boy, which is USB-C now, might be to power the scanner. We'll see. I assume it will be obvious. Okay, we have more cables with more USB-C. Maybe this is to power both of them. We'll see. I mean, this transmitter has both a USB-C. It might be a receiver. I don't know. Has both a USB-C, and so basically they just shower you with USB-C cables. I think the idea and what we're going to do is this this thing which has battery. It's actually half charged. They do that so the reason that you'll notice with your phones and everything when they send it to you, it's charged but half charged. The reason they don't charge it all the way is because that's bad for the battery. So that's why they do it halfway. It's kind of this optimal place between not pissing you off because it doesn't come charged and kind of overcharging the battery. That's why they do that. So the question is, I have a lot of cables. Which one to use? What they are saying is to put one USB in the charging block. Again, I don't know if it really matters. It seems like both solutions would probably be valid. And then we put the USB-C here. Oh, and it's lighting up. To me, that says this is the right solution. I don't even know if this has a tightening screw. Either way, maybe they want you to use one of these other cables. I don't know. I mean, this is a nice short cable. Let us discover all the possibilities. So I assume this nice short cable probably makes more sense and it fits in here more nicely. That's cable 1. And then cable 2, which is nice and longer, which is why we would like to do it this way. USB goes up here. And then don't tell me that I reversed it again. I couldn't handle it. My heart can't take it. And then I put USB-C over here. I think it's just long enough to do it this way. Okay. So I assume this is the setup. Okay, so the idea is now that this is blue, again, this means that we can connect to the bridge somewhere. Yeah, I'm connecting basically, I don't know if you can see this, but to the Wi-Fi network of the Ferret. So this is now communicating between the transmitter. Now I can confidently say it's a transmitter. And the phone's receiver. So I'm connected to its Wi-Fi, and I'm going to see if I can connect via the app. Let's see. So if you can't see this, I'm going to film more footage of it so you can tell. But now it's actually synced up to our thing. Beautiful. I got to do some like phone capture or something so you can see what's going on. Yeah, it's working. And now we're going to reach the part of the video where we actually try to do a scan wirelessly. Okay, so while I wait for our scanner to actually connect, I just turned it on and hopefully you see a screen recording. I want to tell you what it is we are going to be scanning and why. In a word, I'm going to be scanning my boot, my shoe. The reason for this is it's a very complicated shape. This would be very hard to model, let alone texture. And like I said, we're going to be doing some like footage of like tracking stuff. So I'm going to make sure to put the shoelaces inside of here because that's considered very thin, unworkable geometry. And that is what we are going to try to scan. So let me just open up the app again, and that should do it. Okay, yes, homepage. And we're hoping for the green. Oh, wait, we need to connect it to the Wi-Fi. That's an important part. So make sure you will see the ferret right here, so make sure to connect to that. This is what's gonna let you connect to the receiver. Nope, transmitter. And now we should hope, yep, it is connected. So I'm going to do new scan, and I guess I can put the phone inside of there, or I can just use this as a preview. And what I wanna see is as I move it, yeah, we can see stuff going on. One thing I noticed with this app is we have this kind of like timer. So let me set it to 5 seconds.
To be honest, I don't know what that does. Well, that's all I know about that. So you're going to see that as I move it closer and further away, you're going to see some of this geometry. And we're just going to go all around it, I guess. So, and you want to make sure you're not too close or too far away. So let's start scanning. And we're just going to orbit it. Now, again, the idea is really that you have the phone connected to the thing. But I'm fine with just kind of like having it on the table here. So we're just going to orbit it around. The longer you do this, the more of the scan we're going to capture. It isn't necessary that we get like everything. But, you know, the more we can get, the better the track is going to be, in my opinion. So just make sure you get a lot of overlap. If it says to go closer, go closer. Clearly, I'm not a pro at this, but ideally, if this is a good product, it shouldn't matter if you're a pro. Hopefully, technique don't matter too much. And honestly, I would assume that this scans even better if you have like a surface that isn't like a single color, because then it has more like focal points to use. I'm gonna try going upside down. I don't know if it matters. Seems to work. Okay, I'm happy with that. Let's see what we want to do from this. So we have some buttons. Oh, we could scan a color or look at color as well. That's interesting. Okay, so I am going to pause the scanning and let's say that that's done. And it's going to compute the mesh. I think in this case, it's going to be a textured mesh because I didn't say otherwise. In my case, it doesn't really matter. It is nice to do wireless and just kind of look at this through a phone. Honestly, the big advantage of this is you get to go outside with more sunlight and light in general. You know, if I was doing this a bit better, not only would I have a different surface to scan on, but of course I would have more light in here. Because how are you going to get data, or at least color data, without light, even though this has a depth sensor? I just tried to go to the supermarket because I go to this like hotline thing and I get like chicken and mac and cheese, and I also try to get vegetables and stuff like that. Just checking if it's done doing the model. It does take a bit, but I think that's universal to most scanning softwares. I go to the supermarket and lo and behold, it's closed because, you know, it's Thanksgiving. So I'm hoping that DoorDash people are still like trying to make money and that I can like order food. Because otherwise this might be a foodless day. Okay, can we orbit and navigate this? We can. Okay, so the way I scan this, again, you want to do better than me. Do as I say, not as I do. This captured the parts that I scanned well. It captured quite well. I'm hoping, and I'm pretty sure that this should be enough for our geo tracker because it can kind of like fill in the missing parts. Let's see what these buttons do. Well, what does this one do? Hole filling. Hole filling on. Okay. And I want to export this as an OBJ. And I don't think I really, maybe I do care about the closure. I'm going to put some closure on. I'm going to click next and see if this is going to export nicely. So I guess this is kind of like the post-processing step where it's going to, I guess in my case, fill in the holes here. Okay, it is done meshing and it actually did a pretty good job of refining this. There were some like weird parts on the back that it clearly figured out what to do with. Again, there's nothing on the bottom because it's like on a table, so it'd be hard to scan the bottom. But it got some good details that honestly don't matter too much for what I'm doing. Okay, that looks good. Let's click next and see what it wants. Oh, it wants to do color. By the way, I'm not sure if I can turn off the scanner once we actually already have the data. That's something somebody else can test because I don't want to lose the data. Just in case that is the case. But I don't see why you would need to keep this on, like it has the data on the phone at this point. Yep, that is definitely color, and it seems to be the right color. I'll be honest, I'm not too excited about the color feature because it's not very relevant to me. But if I was working on a different project, that might be good. One thing I'm noticing is that I don't know what it did. It clearly like captured some of the floor for this color data. I think that's probably because I put it upside down, but it did do that, which isn't correct. Either way, I'm gonna click done. And now that is a model I have. And now I assume I can probably turn this off. So I'm going to turn off my scanner, which I would assume kind of gets rid of the connection. Yeah, there we go. And now the reason I'm doing that is I can transfer over to a Wi-Fi network that actually isn't like based on the ferret. And then the idea behind that, I'm going to send it to myself via Drive. I'm going to cut this part because there's privacy concerns. Okay, it should have been sent over to my Google Drive is how I uploaded it. And now the question is it going to be on my computer? And then more so, can I actually, do something with it? So because what I want to do is I want to take like footage of me wearing this shoe and then kind of track it. And I'm making sure to use the same shoe that I scanned. I mean, even though they're probably symmetric. Let me capture some footage of it now. I think the part that I got the best scan of is this top and right side. So that's what I'm going to take footage of. So let's see. I'm moving it around, doing some rotation, forward, left, right. We'll see if that works. GoPro footage is hella distorted, but if this works, it bodes well. Let's see.
Okay, so this is the part where we enter the computer side of the tutorial or video, or I don't know what this is, but if you've stuck around for 23 minutes, then, I don't think you care what it is at this point. So here's the video that we're trying to track. It's some glorious footage of a foot. So I'm going to call it foot. By the way, I was just eating a quesadilla, so I need to cough this out. Okay, now that that's over, we have our foot footage, and also I sent over, like I said, my files. That includes the textures for the shoe. You can see it made like a UV atlas for this. This I'm not really going to use, but we also sent an OBJ, and that is something I'm going to use. I don't know why Blender is not a shortcut here, but I'm going to launch Blender 4.0. I installed a 1-month license of Geometry Tracker because I don't know if I want to use it after this video, so I'm like, why pay so much for it? And what I can do now is I can import in my OBJ, which I don't know what I called it, but it should be the only one. Is it really called color mapping? Yeah, I guess it is. Okay, so it's imported. I don't see anything. That usually means it's A, too small, or B, too big. I'm seeing that it's B, too big. So I'm going to scale her down. Scale her down. Okay, there she is. One thing I'd like to see, maybe this is just my geometry, but I'd like to see the origin already centered on the geometry. I don't know if that's hard to do, but I would like to see that. Hold up. No time for a phone call. Okay, I really do want to pick up, but we're doing something very important. Okay, so how do I want to do this? I want to first of all orient my boot, and then we are going to actually use the geometry tracker. And I'm also going to like clean this up a little so it doesn't have any geometry that we don't care about. So in our footage, I think we are exposing... What part of the shoe are we exposing? Let's see. We are exposing the outermost part. I don't want the bottom of this model. It's pretty messy. So I'm just going to kind of do a Boolean cut of that away. What I mean by this is I add a Boolean modifier here, and I calculate the difference from the cube and wait for that to compute because it's a lot of geometry, so it's probably going to take a moment. And then once it calculates the difference, then I want to actually subtract it away. Come on, Blender, don't freeze on me. Okay, beautiful. Apply this, which will also take a hot second, and then we should be ready for geometry tracking. Again, I don't know why it's so confusing to me as to which side I don't know if there's like something on the model that I can use for like maybe looking at the stripes here or whatever. Is there any difference between these sides? No, they look identical. I mean, there's the curvature of the shoe, but I feel like maybe I took off my other shoe. Either way, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. What I want to do is I want to create a new geometry tracker. And maybe since this is like so dense in terms of geometry and we want to track it, let me do a decimation first. So this is going to keep the kind of like the overall form of this, but not be crazy. So now we're at 500,000 polygons. Maybe I want to get down to like 50,000. So I'm just going to repeatedly apply a 50% decimate. And you're asking why am I not just applying a 10% decimate? That's because I might want to stop at some point. So I'm just kind of going step by step by step. So after this, yep, we're at 100,000 polygons. The way I know that is from this face count right here. And since Geometry Tracker is probably doing something with, the geometry and UV space and all this, I imagine that if I throw too much geometry at it, it's going to be crazy. Okay, so here we're getting pretty close. I can do one more decimation, and then I'm going to call it quits. So 13,000, that's fine with me. I still see the overall form of this. And now I want to track it. So let me just save this. And let's create a new geo tracker. Haven't used this in a minute. Let's see. So we first of all need to input in a clip. So this is going to be the footage I filmed called foot. That's our geometry. And we also need a camera to reference. So I guess I shouldn't have deleted that camera, but I'm just so used to deleting the default interface that, I can't help myself. There it is, just kind of showing myself the model. Okay, so that is going to be our camera, and let's analyze the footage, right? Boom, from 1 to 142. So this is basically going to, in my mind, it's going to cache the video and maybe also compute some motion vectors. I don't really know why it does this. It gives you an option to not do it, but I've had better tracks when I do analyze it. So my recommendation is to analyze it. Okay. So maybe the issue is, I can't remember if I scanned my left or right foot, but I'm definitely using my right foot. Either way, we are going to start pin mode. And you can see we have our geometry, but it's kind of weird and we can't see it. And it kind of looks inverted or something like that. I think the issue might be that our scaling is negative for some reason. So let's try just applying scale and see if that helps. So I'm going to apply, let's say rotation and scale. Oh, and now these are inverted. That was probably the issue. And I think actually now that I looked at the footage again, I think I'm maybe using the other shoe or something. This face, I think, is what's actually pointing towards the camera. So to make it the other shoe, I'm just going to invert it, right? Scale by -1 on the X, which means, again, we need to flip our faces. This should work a lot better. So I'm going to start my pin mode. I already tried a couple pins, so I'm just going to remove these pins. And very importantly, so I already tried to do this once, so I'm just going to update it. For our camera focal length, we're using a GoPro, right? So focal length is not 50, which is what it is by default. It's something crazy, 10 millimeters or 8 millimeters. We're just going to estimate it. And by how we line up the mesh, it's going to guess. So here's the front of the shoe. An easy spot to also target is kind of this back heel section. And it's all the way on the other side of the mesh. It doesn't seem to like that I'm clicking that, so I'm just going to bring it in a bit closer. The fact that it's on the other side of the mesh is pretty good for orientation. So you can see with only 3 pins, we get something that's close. Now I'm just going to do the heel to start refining. Okay, I think honestly this is the best I'm going to get it. I mean, we can use masks and stuff, but I think this is a pretty good orientation, and it's guessing 12 millimeters, which is probably close to what it really is. Either way, let's try tracking forwards and see what it does. By the way, I want to get rid of any keyframes I used. Okay, track forwards. Okay, it's liking it. It's liking it. Obviously, there's a bit of offset, but in general, it's capturing the motion. Great. Now, what we need to do is say, Keen Tools, you suck. Horrible job. And we correct it manually. This is called refining. So I'm basically going to overwrite its position by basically adding a custom keyframe. So I'm just going to take my pre-existing pins and just kind of line them up. And it can't be worse than it was. So something like that. And then I believe we just click Refine All, which is going to consider our second keyframe, hopefully. Come on. Okay, that is significantly better. And we can add like keyframes in between. So like right here, it's slipping quite a bit. So I'm just going to do a bit of an adjustment. But it really is nice that this is lining up quite well because, again, we have our own geometry. We could have kind of like loosely modeled something. But I think this is a better approach. Okay. Let's do another refinement now that we've added more passes. And I think for every frame we add, it must go forwards and backwards and kind of blend those tracks or something. But now that is looking significantly better, right? There's still some issues around certain keyframes that we can adjust. I'm only going to do one more pass of this and then just kind of call it quits here and actually like attach something on. But what? But chicken butt. Okay, one final refinement, and we'll call this good. Okay, I am happy with that. So, given that, let's see the motion we have. That seems correct, right? Like we're moving it like that. And I imagine if we take this and then parent it to the camera, it will still have its motion, but we can move the overall system while maintaining the kind of the view transform. The reason I care about this is I can actually position the camera in a way that's more realistic to where it was, and I can put the shoe in a better spot. So the shoe's on the origin, and now that seems correct. I mean, the reason that the camera's diagonal is because I filmed it diagonal. So if you see any kind of drifting here, that basically implies, I had to spend more time with tracking. Either way, now that we have this kind of parenting relationship, let's try to actually add something. So let's add like a monkey to like the tip of the shoe. And by that, I mean we rotate and we literally just like stick it on where it would be on the shoe. And we could actually use this shoe for like shadowing and stuff like that. Okay, I take the monkey, I shift click, and I parent. And now it should be moving, and relative to the camera, it should be correct. But I don't like the angle that it's picked. You can't really tell it's a monkey. So now that I've moved it, that looks much better. And let's try hiding this so we only have the monkey. Yeah, we've attached a monkey onto our foot. The American dream is well and alive. Okay, cool. So this is basically a technique for geometry tracking. What I'm doing where if you have a complicated mesh, instead of kind of like very roughly modeling it where you're not going to get accurate motion, this should be better. Okay, so that's the video. There's going to be a link in the description. Again, of course, this is sponsored. But what I want you to do more so is, like I said, we're doing like a raffle, or I'm giving away my ferret that doesn't have the wireless thing, but Creality agreed to send over a wireless bridge, which should kind of turn it into a pro. So fill in that Google form. Somebody's going to get a free scanner.